This is The Tea Project with your host, Gadiel and Michelle, a husband and wife duo where they will be discussing personal finance, managing a household, and so much more. Gadiel is a father, husband, a military veteran, and a lawyer. Michelle is a mother, wife, boss. Each week, they will be providing you with fresh and valuable content, so stay tuned. And now, welcome to The Tea Project.
Hi everyone, you are listening to Tea Project. Today we're going to talk about consumer issues, how you can handle any consumer issues in terms of if you see that a service that was provided to you was below par or just any financial blunder that you may think of. Just think about anything like if you are getting married and all of a sudden you decided that you weren't. You put in a deposit for a banquet hall, and how do you get that money back? A contract is a contract, and you think that that's where it ends, and that money is lost. But there is still hope. So Gadiel over here is gonna give some key points or advices on what you can do.
There is hope, folks. Look, and even when the blunder is really on your part, where like Michelle said, you pay for a deposit at a banquet hall because you're going to get married, and for whatever reason, you either go to a different banquet hall, because that happened to us actually. We put a deposit down on a banquet hall many years ago, and we decided that's not the place we wanted to get married at. So, I think we put down like $1,000. What was it? Something like that, right? And then and you put it down, you decide, I'm not going to do it here. But the contract that you probably signed says no refunds, because the banquet hall owner has to protect themselves as well. They're in the business of making money, not just providing you space and not make any money or any assurance that if you decide to walk away, they're not gonna make any money off of that. Anyhow, so there's many things we can do, and me and Michelle have done many things. We've there are many things that we've signed for services, contract for services, or
where we've regretted, and then we've been able to,
or we got a bad service,
or we bought something,
a good.
Mostly, it's been a few where we weren't happy, like it was bad service, or probably the majority of them. Yeah. And then others where we're like, come on, can you cut us a break for it? And then we've been successful at recuperating that money.
Right. So, you name it, whether it's a contract for services, you purchased a good, an item, something, whatever the deal is, where you're the consumer, right? These are consumer issues, how to handle consumer issues. And you're the consumer. Here are some of the things you can do to recover your money, or at least part of it, right? So the first thing that you should do, number one, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. What is that? That's an old saying that, say you're driving down the road and that tire, one of the tires are like low pressure, or there's a squeak, the brake, you hear the brake going wheek, wheek, wheek. It's going to be the sound is going to be so obnoxious that you're going to say, you know what, I got to take care of it. It's bothering me. If it didn't squeak, it wouldn't bother you. So picture yourself as a squeaky wheel. You're complaining. That's the squeak. You're going to get the grease, because companies hate customers. Companies hate customers that complain. There's nothing worse than a complaining customer. You know what I mean? It's a nuisance. You know what I mean? So, so the first thing you should do, Michelle, what do you think the first thing you should do is?
Well, I think you have to kind of evaluate, is it fair enough to get the money back, or to get, or if you think that you were cheated, what are those key points? Because you need to have some reasons.
Right. You can't sound absurd. Hey, I want my money back, but the service you got was perfect.
Right.
That just sounds
like
ludicrous.
you ate your food, and then all of a sudden you say,
I don't want to pay. I didn't like it. I ate the whole thing.
Exactly, not that. Right. So I think that probably would be the first step.
So your complaint has to be reasonable, man. Mm-hmm. It can't just be like, like Michelle said, you ate dinner, you ate the whole thing, but then you say, I didn't like it, I'm not going to pay for it. That ain't flying with anybody, man. So if the service that you got or the product you got is obvious that there's something wrong with it, the first thing you should do is complain, right? But who do you complain to? So here's an example. Do you remember when we had an issue a long time ago with T-Mobile?
No.
Okay, so we bought 2 phones, and it was like a promotion. You buy one, get another one free or something like that. Or you get like a
this
rebate.
is back in Michigan.
This is back in Michigan.
Yeah.
You get a rebate. You get a phone, you get a $200 rebate. So we bought 2 phones. We should get $400. Whatever the amount was. So we did exactly that. We bought the phones, we kept the receipt, and then we filled out the forms. We filled out the rebate forms. We send the original receipts to like some third party who was handling the rebates. So what happens? They did not pay us the rebates. They didn't pay us what we bargained for. So we complained. But who do you complain? When you call a company, regardless on the size, you got to complain to a decision maker, right? So when you call customer support, customer service, you can briefly complain to the representative.
Just so that it goes on the record.
Just so it's recorded. There's a file, notes, this and that. But the person who really makes the decision, it's that person's supervisor, the manager, and depending on the size. If it's a small company, it may just be the owner, and that's who you want to speak to. But if it's a big company like T-Mobile, you talk to a manager, and you get their ID number, you get their name, and then you tell them, hey, sir, what's your name? Okay, I'm writing this down. What's your ID number? Because they usually have some type of ID number or a representative ID or something like that. What does that do? Well, you're marking the facts down. You're writing all the facts, and that's letting him know I got you, and I'm writing what you're telling me. So the next time I call, because you haven't satisfied my issues, I'm going to call you out, sir. You gave me your ID number, 156, and the next time I call in a week because you haven't given me my money or whatever it is, I'm putting you on the record. So that's the first thing you do, is you complain to a manager or the owner. Number 1, talk to the decision maker.
But I thought number 1 was writing down your reasons.
Yeah,
to make sure it's
write the reasons down first.
So this one.
Okay, that's number 1.
And 2 is.
But if you're unhappy, you probably have those reasons memorized. You're passionate about why you're pissed.
And I'm glad you said that, because I think that the key thing to take from this and whatever we're going to discuss is you are your own advocate.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you want to hire an attorney and they'd advocate for you. But even then, you have to come with the meat and potatoes. Why is it that you want to complain about this? Or what is it that you're seeking?
So definitely, you better have your reasons. And like Michelle said, you're your own advocate. There's no one going to fight for you. That manager is not going to fight for you. The owner is not going to fight for you. So it's really you. You are going to have to take control and advocate all the way. And
I think what's important here is that you have to commit to it. How much time do you want to commit?
Oh my God.
Because we'll give an example. What was it when we closed for our current home?
Okay.
We were dealing with our bank, and they hadn't transferred our, what is it?
Oh, they haven't wired the money.
Transfer.
So the closing funds. So we just bought a home, and our bank, where we have our operating account and everything, we wired the closing funds to the escrow company, right? Well, for whatever reason,
we were on that phone for quite some time.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, the bank didn't timely wire that money, so we couldn't close as scheduled. We had to wait an extra day. But what did me and Michelle do? Boy, we called that bank and we went crazy. We took turns calling. Matter of fact,
no, we were simultaneously.
Yeah, we were calling at the same time. Why? Because we wanted to close. But if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have closed that the next day. It would have been probably the day after that.
Right. So that's basically what we're saying, is that you have to be ready to commit.
You have to.
So if it means taking, a lunch break, a couple of lunch breaks, to get on the phone and constantly be on the phone, and probably where they hang up on you, probably where you get transferred from one person to the next person to the next person. It depends on how badly do you want that, whatever you're seeking for, whether it's money or whatever. How badly do you want it?
Right. I guess you got to look into that. If it's something that you're like, you know what, it's just not worth it.
Worth your time.
Worth your time, and really the headache that it puts you through, then maybe, you know what, cut your losses and move on.
And I think for the most part, I want to say that we go after, and I guess it doesn't really matter the amount, but the amounts that we've gone after are well over 100, 200, some even 1,000. Because
I mean, we do it sometimes out of principle, man. And the principle, look, when I talk to clients, they always feel passionate about whatever their issues are. And I tell them sometimes principle, you lose on principle. It's kind of costs you more than what it is that you want. Your time. You're trying to seek in return. And if you're willing to do that, commit to that, more power to you. Sometimes I tell them it's not worth it. But hey, if you're going to pay me for a service, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's number 2. Number 1, write everything down, write your reasons. And number 2 is complain to the decision maker. So what happens when that doesn't work? So me and Michelle have tried several things, right? We've tried in our past, we've tried things. So here's something that you can do. And there's a hierarchy, right? If the company if it's a small company, you can complain to your county consumer protection division. So if you live in Miami-Dade County, or you live in Pasco County, Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, whatever county you're living in, they may have some consumer protection division, a division that takes complaints from consumers regarding a business that's operating within that county, right? Even city too. You look into your city ordinances, or whatever city you live in, if they have an ordinance that says, hey, companies, they can't do X, Y, and Z. Here's your platform where you can complain. Cities sometimes, for sure, counties. So if the county, if you want to say, you know what, I'm going to hit them hard. I'm going to go county level, file a complaint. It's like a form usually. And then I'm going to go state level. What state level? Let me see if we've done this before. I want to say we've done this, but I always recommend it to clients. I said, look, do the county, right? Do state level. So if it's a company that is regulated by a license, right? If they're, construction or builder or barber or something that's regulated with a license, you can file a complaint with the board license, the licensing board of that person's business, which is usually at a state level. Here in Florida has a licensing board for doctors, nurses, lawyers, CPAs, barbers, builders, contractors, real estate agents, you name it. If they have a license, you can complain to this board. I'm telling you what, nobody that you're complaining against that has a license they don't really want you to do that, right? Because you're messing with their livelihood, man. And if you have merit to your complaint, then they're gonna say, listen, don't do that. Listen, don't do that. Don't complain to the board or the state or the county. Listen, let's just what do we need to do to resolve this? And then you do that. If that doesn't work, right? There's always the Consumer Protection Division of the Attorney General in your state. You can go that route. I've done that too. What that does is when you file a complaint with one of these agencies, they reach out to the business owner. So now the business owner has to spend their time, right, and maybe their money, because now they got to hire a lawyer, to respond to a complaint that you processed through one of these agencies. So and they look at it as a cost benefit. Is it worth it really for me to spend money and time arguing this person's complaint, defending the complaint, or let me just go direct with the consumer and say, listen, what do we need to do? You want your money back? Okay. I can't pay you half because I rendered service. I'll pay you some back. Is that okay with you? Okay, deal. Boom. And it's over, right? So when all those agencies, when that doesn't work out for you, right, for whatever reason, where do we go? One of our go-to is the BBB, the Better Business Bureau. They're an agency, but they're not like they don't have like an authority. What I like about the BBB is what they've done, and a lot of these like Yelp, a lot of these platforms, what they do is they become a platform, right, to solicit complaints against businesses. They become a place where you can go file your complaint. Now it's public. You're complaining about this mortgage company because they screwed you over on whatever, right? But it's there for everyone to see. So that's what these companies do, right? So it's public for everybody. When you make a complaint with the BBB, the Better Business Bureau, they then send that complaint to the business and have them respond within a reasonable amount of time. Their response, it becomes public as well. And they sort of become like a mediator, like a third party to resolve your issues. But what's in it for the BBB? This is how. They, aside from, receiving complaints, they actually ask, hey, if you want to be rated on our platform, you pay like a membership. So that's like their side business, the consumer looks like they're doing a good deed, which they are, but I mean, they're not going to work for free either. So they got to figure out how to make revenue and make some money. So that's that.
All right.
Any other ways do you think how you can complain and sort of put pressure on a company? I mean, these are like meritful complaints. This ain't just some bogus complaint.
I personally think that what has helped us all these years when we've had issues like this is, and I'm not doing it to sell you, but because we're not trying to. Well, it's not that we're not trying to sell you, but it's your letter. Listen, it's your letters that go out to these companies that really make them move.
Right.
Here's one example that comes to my mind is when we were just coming back from Michigan. We moved into my parents shortly, and then we moved to Doral, and we looked at some apartments and we had like buyer's remorse.
We did. So we put a deposit down at an apartment.
And I don't remember that it was too much. I think it was like a few $100s.
It was a few $100s. And the issue is we paid it, right? We paid it. And within a day or two later, we said, you know what? We don't want to do it.
And they
didn't want to give us the money back.
Right.
Do you know if we're in time to request it, or did we pass the time?
I can't remember what it was, but what I do remember is that the moment you put that letter in and you sent it out, it was like the golden ticket.
Yeah. So it's a demand letter, folks. Whenever you wanna complain, whatever method or route you take, when you complain, it helps if you put it in a letter and you write it certified and you send it to like the CEO or whoever it is. But you got to make sure the letter is well written. You check the grammar.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's just the minimum. Yeah. I'm talking about having your letterhead on there, an attorney's letterhead on there.
That changes everything. You put
but it's like you want that money in like on a snap of a finger. You'll get it with the letterhead because that's what we've come to realize or whatever.
So we've done that too many times. But for the folks who don't know, right? I'm an attorney, but a lot of folks don't know attorneys and they don't want to spend money on an attorney, so they can't write that letter. Obviously, if they want to hire an attorney, the problem is when you do that, you pay the attorney out of your pocket. That out-of-pocket cost is not going to get reimbursed by the company because there's no reason to. Contractually, there's no reason to say, hey, you owe me for attorney's fees. But where in whatever agreement does it say I owe you for that? What I do owe you is whatever we agreed upon. If you're not happy for the pool service I gave you, I'll give you your money back. But you decided to go to get an attorney and pay for that, well, that's really on you. So sometimes if the value of what you're trying to get back in return is less than what an attorney's going to charge you for the time to put a letter, then maybe it's not the best. And, I tell people all the time, they call me and say, hey, can you write a letter for this, this, and this?
Right, but for the things that are like, in the thousands or whatever, it's worth it.
It's worth it. And I'm going to give an example then. Here's an example. Look, I had a client recently that he's into flipping houses, right? He hired a company, a remodeling company, to come do some type of repair in their bathroom. They're doing like a shower, changing the tiles, something in the bathroom. And what happened? Where they did some plumbing and the plumbing caused some water damage. to that bathroom and to the adjacent unit. My client owned both units, right? So what happened? He tried to talk to the owner of the remodeling company, and they were just, hey, I'm so sorry, there's nothing we can do. It cost him over $12,000 worth of damages. $12,000. Now he had to pay a mold inspection company, a restoration company. He had to take time off of his work, his regular day job, to oversee these operations at this rental property. And the owner was not gonna. I'm so sorry. Here's an issue. They didn't have a contract. They had a verbal agreement. Hey, how much are you gonna charge me to fix this bathroom? Oh, I'll charge you X. They didn't have a contract. So when the real estate guy called me, he said, "Listen, can you help me? This happened, and they don't want to pay for the damages." I said, "Listen, you don't have a contract. You can go to court, pay the attorney, pay me or whoever, our time, our hourly fee plus the cost of filing, right? But they don't have to pay you that in return because there's no contract stating the loser pays attorney's fees, right?" So I said, "Listen, let me write a letter to the owner and see if we can resolve this." Long story short, I got him into a contract both, where they were willing, where the modeling company is willing to repay this my client in monthly installments, without going to court.
Yeah.
All from a demand letter that I sent, and then thereafter negotiations. But definitely, if it's worth it, if the amount is high enough, for sure, go get an attorney. No question about it.
Yeah.
So definitely demand letters from attorneys does go a long way. But anyhow, folks, I would say if the amount is not that high, right, it's going to cost you more to get a lawyer, try some of the things that we talked about. Talk to the manager, complain to them, write a Google review. Now these days, people shop based on reviews. So if a review is bad for a pool company, who the heck's going to use that company? They have bad reviews. No way.
But that can be somebody can look at that if you say that that's retaliation. And I don't think that's what we're trying to say.
No.
I think what happens is you complaining on Google, putting a bad review. At the very minimum, you're hoping that they're going to
reach out to you and say, "Hey, how do we fix it?" See, yeah. I say this before you put the review. You reach out to the owner and you say, "Look, if we don't resolve this, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z."
Yeah.
You put them on notice. "Oh, I don't want you to do that. Let's just resolve it here." Mm-hmm. But if you do it without talking to them first, what happens? The damage is done. They don't have to pay you anything. The damage is done. You left the review. Okay, leave it. But I'm not paying you a penny.
Right, but even when people put a bad review on you go to a restaurant and you leave a bad review, there's times where these restaurants will reach out to you and try
that's
to
true. That's
rectify the, hey, here's a free $10 gift card or something like that.
They surprise you. They're like, oh my God. Okay, but if you do the review part, review is full of it doesn't have any grammatical errors. You make sure it's written, because what happens is you put a crap review, right? You don't use punctuation, you don't use whatever. Someone else is going to see it and say, "Oh, this is just a disgruntled customer. Mm-hmm. This is just like some bonehead who's just mad about something, really mad about themselves, right? Mm-hmm. That they left some nasty review." But if you leave a professional looking review, detailed exactly what it is that you're upset about, other customers are going to read that review and say, "Okay, this must be a bad company. This person had a bad experience." But it's not a customer who's a crazy customer who's leaving nasty reviews and all this crazy stuff. No, they sound like a sane person, right? Mm-hmm. And they left a bad review, but it's well written. What I'm saying is that help other customers out by leaving a well-written, poor review of the customer. Well-written. If not, customers are going to think it's really you, not the business. So anyhow. Any closing remarks?
Nope. I think it's like I said before, you're your own advocate. You have to decide if it's worth pursuing, and you have to be well aware of the time that it's gonna take, and just commit to it if you decide to go through with it. So
100%. And folks, look, if you know of some other ways that helped you recoup, some money, please let us know in the comments section. Let us know what strategies you use. We would like to know. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Please hit the bell button so you're listening into our next podcast. And we wish you well. God bless.
God bless.